The emergency session of the Galactic Banking Consortium had been called at the third hour of the stellar cycle. Representatives from 47 member species filled the massive chamber on Station Prosperity. The air recyclers worked overtime to accommodate the various atmospheric needs of the assembled delegates. High Arbiter Vexnal, a being of crystalline structure whose body caught the light and scattered it into rainbow patterns, called the meeting to order with a resonant chime that vibrated through every translation device in the room. The markets had crashed, not partially, not in a single sector. The entire galactic economy had experienced what the Consortium's analysts were calling a jolly, cascading liquidity event. Trillions of standard credits had evaporated in less than 6 standard hours. Trade routes had frozen. Supply chains had collapsed. 3 minor civilizations had already declared bankruptcy at the planetary level. And it had all started because of humans. Marcus Chen sat in the observation gallery above the main chamber. He was not supposed to be there. Security protocols had been tightened considerably since the incident. But Marcus had learned something valuable in his 3 years of working in alien financial systems. Most species built their security around physical threats. They never considered that a human might simply talk their way past the guards with a combination of confidence and a borrowed maintenance uniform. He watched the proceedings with a mixture of guilt and fascination. None of this had been intentional. That was the part the aliens seemed unable to understand. The Consortium's lead investigator, a Torvax named Krillic, took the center platform. The Torvax were an insectoid species known for their mathematical precision. Their compound eyes could process data streams that would overwhelm most organic neural systems. Krillic had been assigned to determine exactly how a species that had only achieved faster than light travel 40 years ago had managed to destabilize a financial system that had operated successfully for 12,000 years. The answer, as it turned out, was embarrassingly simple. Humans had invented something new. The Consortium systems had not known how to handle it. 3 months earlier, Marcus Chen had been working as a junior analyst at the human trading firm Stellar Horizons. The company occupied a small office on the commercial ring of Station Prosperity. They were one of dozens of human enterprises trying to establish a foothold in the galactic economy. Most failed within their first year. The competition was simply too established, the systems too complex, the regulations too numerous. Stellar Horizons had survived by finding niches that larger traders ignored. Small cargo runs. Specialty goods from Earth that appealed to alien collectors. Nothing glamorous, but enough to keep the lights on. Marcus had been reviewing the company's trading algorithms when he noticed something strange. The galactic financial networks operated on a standardized protocol that had been established before humans had discovered fire. Every species used the same basic framework. Trades were executed sequentially, verified by distributed ledgers, and settled within a specific time window determined by the speed of quantum communication across the network. The system worked. It had always worked. No one had ever questioned whether it could work better. Marcus had grown up on Earth during the algorithmic trading boom. He had watched human financial markets evolve at breakneck speed. New strategies emerged weekly. Old ones became obsolete just as fast. The constant innovation had created a culture where questioning established systems was not just acceptable, but expected. So he asked a question that no galactic trader had ever thought to ask. What if trades did not have to be sequential? The concept was not complicated. On Earth, high-frequency trading firms had long ago developed techniques for executing multiple trades simultaneously, exploiting tiny price differences across different markets. The galactic system did not allow for this. Trades were processed one at a time, in order, with appropriate verification at each step. Marcus saw this as inefficient. He wrote a new algorithm. He called it Parallel Processing Integration, or PPI. The algorithm could identify price discrepancies across multiple galactic exchanges and execute trades on all, of them at once, rather than waiting for each trade to complete before starting the next. He tested it on a small scale. It worked beautifully. Stellar Horizons' profits increased by 300% in a single week. His supervisor, Elena Rodriguez, was thrilled. She authorized a larger deployment. Within a month, Stellar Horizons was processing more trades than firms that had been operating for centuries. Other human trading companies took notice. Marcus shared his code. It seemed like the right thing to do. Humans had always progressed faster when they shared knowledge freely. Within 3 months, a significant portion of human traders were using some version of the PPI algorithm. The galactic markets had never seen anything like it. Human trading volume exploded. Prices began to fluctuate in ways that the Consortium's monitoring systems flagged as anomalies but could not explain. Then the cascade began. The galactic financial system had been built with certain assumptions. One of those assumptions was that trades would always be processed in a predictable sequence. The distributed ledgers that verified transactions relied on this predictability. When human traders began executing millions of simultaneous trades, the ledgers struggled to keep up. At first, the delays were measured in microseconds, then milliseconds, then seconds. Verification backlogs built up across the network. Some trades were processed multiple times. Others were not processed at all. Prices diverged wildly between exchanges as different ledgers showed different information. A Krellian commodity trader noticed the discrepancy first. They attempted to exploit it by buying low on one exchange and selling high on another. Normally, this would have been impossible. The sequential trading system would have corrected the price difference before the second trade could be executed. But with the verification backlogs, the correction came too late. Other traders noticed. They tried the same strategy. The discrepancies grew larger. Automated trading systems across the galaxy detected the anomalies and began making their own trades. Within hours, the entire market was caught in a feedback loop of increasingly chaotic transactions. The Consortium's emergency shutdown protocols activated. They were designed to halt trading during periods of extreme volatility, but they had never been tested against this kind of event. The protocols assumed that halting new trades would allow the existing backlog to clear. Instead, the backlog continued to grow as verification systems struggled with the millions of parallel transactions already in the queue. By the time the markets finally stabilized, 3 days later, the damage was done. In the Consortium chamber, Kralik finished presenting the technical analysis. The delegates sat in stunned silence. 12,000 years of financial stability had been disrupted by an algorithm written by a junior human analyst. In his spare time, High Arbiter Vexenal spoke. This is unprecedented. The humans have not violated any existing regulations. There were no rules against parallel trading because no one ever imagined it was possible. A Velthari delegate rose. The Velthari were one of the oldest spacefaring species in the Consortium. Their representative's voice carried the weight of millennia. The humans have been among us for barely a generation. In that time, they have repeatedly demonstrated a capacity for innovation that borders on recklessness. We warned the Consortium when they were first admitted. Their species does not understand stability. Another delegate, a small furry being from a species Marcus did not recognize, chirped a response. The humans did not intend to cause harm. Their trader has cooperated fully with our investigation. He genuinely believed he was improving the system. Intent is irrelevant, the Velthari replied. The result speaks for itself. Marcus felt his face flush with shame. The Velthari was right. He had not intended to crash the galactic economy, but he had done it anyway. His innovation had caused genuine harm to billions of beings across the galaxy. And yet, the debate continued below. Some delegates called for sanctions against human traders. Others suggested expelling humans from the Consortium entirely. A few, mostly from younger species, argued that the humans had exposed a fundamental weakness in the system. The real failure was not the PPI algorithm. The real failure was a financial infrastructure that had gone unchanged for 12,000 years. High Arbiter Vexenol eventually restored order. We must address both the immediate crisis and the underlying vulnerability. One proposed a two-part response. First, we implement temporary restrictions on human trading activities until new safeguards can be developed. Second, we establish a working group to study the humans, parallel processing techniques, and determine how they might be safely integrated into our systems. The proposal passed with a narrow majority. The restrictions would be painful for human traders, but they could have been much worse. Expulsion would have devastated Earth's economy. After the session ended, Marcus made his way down from the observation gallery. He was intercepted in the corridor by High Arbiter Vexenol himself. The crystalline being's facets shifted colors as they regarded the young human. "You are Marcus Chen," Vexenol said. It was not a question. Marcus nodded. "I'm sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. I know. I have reviewed your communications extensively. You were genuinely trying to help your colleagues. The problem is that your species does not seem to understand the concept of leaving things alone." Marcus had no response to that. It was true. "I have lived for 4,000 of your years," Vexenol continued. "I have seen species rise and fall. I have watched empires crumble and civilizations fade into memory. In all that time, I have never encountered a species quite like yours. You are impossibly young, impossibly naive, and impossibly creative. Is that a compliment?" Vexenol's colors shifted again. "I do not know yet. Your algorithm exposed weaknesses in systems that we believed were perfect. That knowledge is valuable. It may also be dangerous. The safeguards we implement now will be based on your innovations. Future generations will study what you created, both as a cautionary tale and as a foundation for improvement." Marcus considered this. "So we helped, in a way, eventually?" "Perhaps. The galaxy has operated on principles of stability and gradual change for longer than your species has existed. You have reminded us that stability can become stagnation. Whether that reminder was worth the cost remains to be seen." 6 months later, the new Galactic financial framework was implemented. It included provisions for parallel processing, with appropriate safeguards to prevent the kind of cascading failures that had occurred. Human traders were allowed to resume normal operations, though they were now subject to additional oversight. Marcus Chen was offered a position on the Consortium's Technical Advisory Board. He accepted. His first recommendation was that they create a dedicated team to monitor human innovations before they reach the wider market. "We have a saying on Earth," he told the board during his first meeting. "It is easier to ask forgiveness than permission. Your systems need to account for species that think that way." The board implemented his suggestion. They called it the Chum Protocol. It would be triggered 17 more times over the next decade, each time catching some new human innovation before it could cause galactic-scale disruption. Humans continued to trade. They continued to innovate. And the galaxy, slowly but surely, began to adapt to their presence. The Consortium's official history would later describe the market crash as a turning point. It was the moment when the galactic community realized that humanity was not just another young species finding its place among the stars. They were something new, something unpredictable, and the galaxy would never be quite the same.